Welcome to Kapeleris Ultimate Talk TV. Be inspired, informed, and elevate your mind one step at a time. Talking about life, real estate, business, and beyond. Your host, author, speaker, real estate broker, Carmela Kapeleris.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Kapeleris Talk TV. We have an amazing show for you tonight with amazing guests and lots of great information. My first guest is a well-known speaker and an expert in strategic planning and business development. Here is Brian Crombie.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about this past weekend and the summit that you had at the Toronto City Hall regarding strategic planning?
Well, it wasn't about strategic planning, but I'd love to. So it was it was a Global Change Initiative Summit, and its objective was to try to spur global social transformational change. And it was really quite interesting because it was it had four streams. One was business, one was not-for-profits, another one was environmental, and the final one was people interested in education and educational changes. And all were interested in how the world has changed, and with this sort of changed world of today, what we need to do to institute social transformational change. And so it was about 125 people, 3 days, at City Hall, speakers from around the world. It was really quite fascinating.
Yeah, it was a great event. And you were the keynote speaker.
I was one of the keynote speakers.
One of the keynote speakers, and your speech was on social capital.
Yes.
Can you explain that topic to us?
Sure. Well, I think it's probably what a lot of people in this room do. It's what you do. It's what Dorothy over there does. It's what so many people do every day. But I think that what has happened is that the way that we've actually exercised networking has become very transactionally oriented in the last 10, 15 years. So many people here tonight are real estate agents, and I have to tell you, I think so many real estate agents are only interested in that listing. It's like speed dating. It's go out and meet a whole bunch of people, get a whole bunch of business cards, and you're not actually establishing long-term relationships. You're not actually establishing a connection with those people. And once you do that, longer term, you're actually going to get more listings. You're going to get more success. And so I think it is a change. And so academics have studied social capital, and social capital really is two different types. One is called bonding social capital, which are the close, intimate relationships you have, like you have with your husband and your son, who are here supporting you and have always been supportive of you, and the people from your office that are here that are going to be supporting you. But then it's the bridging social capital. And it's actually interesting. Bridging social capital has been proven over and over again to be more impactful and successful for people from business building, resource getting, idea creation, and very importantly, in finding mates. People don't get their dates or their mates from their closer friends. They get their dates or their mates from the friends of friends, or their friends and friends and friends. And so it's farther, more distance away. And everyone knows the idea of a blind date or get invited to a dinner party and you perchance meet people. And it's interesting. So they've done studies in banks. And the people that know their close banking colleagues do okay, but the people know the people in other departments or functional areas or different banks or in industry end up being more successful. And I probably, if we canvass this room and talk to the real estate agents that know the agents in the other offices or in the other companies or the people in other industries, are going to end up being more successful. And so that's what you've got to end up thinking about and doing, and having those long-term relationships both close and far away if you're going to end up being successful.
So business has a role in social change then. It's all about building relationships.
Yeah, no question. So I think, and let me, if I could, give you a little quick evolutionary guide to business. Business in the 1950s was sort of the organizational man. Big companies, oligarchies, paternalistic, everyone took care. And when they tried to do something good for society, it was charity. And then in the 1970s, you had Michael Jensen and Milton Friedman, and everything was about profit, profit, profit. That was all that counted. And maybe if you gave money, it was CSR, corporate social responsibility. Since the global financial crisis, people have said that actually didn't work. When people were too short-term oriented or too profit-oriented, frankly, sort of like I described networking, people weren't successful, and you could get overcome by competitors from China or Japan or wherever. And so in the last 7 years since the global financial crisis, Michael Porter at Harvard Business School has come up with something called shared value, which is that you've got to create value both for your company but also for society. Other people like the CEO of Whole Foods has started something called conscious capitalism, which is a redefinition of what capitalism is about, which is all stakeholder orientation. And it really changes things to say, not that you don't care about profit, but that you care about more things than just profit. And I'll give you an example, since you're in the real estate agent's business and a lot of people are here. If all you cared about was your fee, would you be successful long term? No, I don't think you would. But you care about your fee because you want to earn your fee. But if you care about finding the right home that's going to be the right fit for your client, and that's your mission and attitude, you're going to earn your fee. So if you're producing a beer, you want to produce the high quality beer. If you do that successfully, you'll end up making money. But too many people for the last 20 years have only been about the profit, shareholder value maximization. And that's been proven that, it may be successful, but successful only in the short term.
Short term. So, Brian, what is the key to entrepreneurship?
I think the key to entrepreneurship is what you're doing here tonight, what Dorothy does, what lots of people, what Joanne does. It's having these meetings because people need to meet face to face. After the face to face, you got Trevor over. Where's Trevor? Trevor over here, who is an expert in social media. Social media and what you can do from a social standpoint is critical, but only after you've established the relationship. You got to establish that face-to-face connection with people. You got to share a drink of wine with them, like some people do here all the time, or dinner with someone. But once you've established that relationship, then you can continue the relationship through social media and hire someone like Trevor to execute it for you, and it'll end up being successful. But I think that what we've forgotten as we've gone crazy with social media and we just blast out these Facebook, updates and Twitter updates and stuff like that, that what we're doing is social. What we're supposed to be doing is social. Well, it's not if all you're doing is blasting it out like a broadcast media. You got to interact. So if anyone wants to tweet out that they heard something interesting today, tweet out the message, not just a picture, but a message. I'm at Brian Crombie, by the way, if you want to tweet out something with me.
Or hashtag KapelerisTalkTV.
But what you want to do is you want to tweet out an idea and hopefully get someone to retweet it or respond to it, and then you want to respond back. The whole idea of social media is it's social, it's interaction. And that's what tonight should be about. It's not broadcast.
So people just don't take it a step further. They just do the social media posts, but they don't get out there and meet that person, socialize with that person, grow that relationship, and then establish an interaction personally and through social media. So I think that's where people are lacking, is they don't take that relationship one step further.
I think what it is people think about networking as speed dating. They think about social media as broadcast media. They don't think about, the whole idea here is building community. It's establishing a relationship. It's interaction. It's commenting, I liked your necklace, I liked your tie, hot pants or something like that, and really trying to establish the connection and relationship so you end up having an interaction going on longer term. Saying, I found that concept interesting, rather than just hitting the like button, right?
Following up with a thank you note or
so the most powerful thing I think you can do is a thank you note, okay? And so what we've forgotten is the power of something like that. And we end up sending a birthday greeting on Facebook and we think we've accomplished something. That Facebook greeting of a happy birthday lasts what? 2 seconds? When someone's glancing at it, you send someone a birthday card, it'll go on their mantle for a week or 2 or a month. You send someone a thank you card with your picture on it, with your real estate agency picture on it, it'll be there for a year.
Oh, for sure. So do you want to talk about sustainability?
Sure. I think that sustainability is one of those words that's been captured in our mind by one effort when it really shouldn't, and it's been captured by the environmental business, which is good because sustainability is about environmental sustainability.
Can you give us the definition of sustainability?
Sustainability should be about business sustainability, okay? Which means effectively that you're not going to go bankrupt, that you're not going to pollute your society, that you're going to end up having customers that come in the future. And that is back to this conscious capitalism I talked about. It's this idea of a stakeholder orientation. So, if I was running, I used to work for Molson's, a beer company. If Molson's only wanted to make money, then it would make cheap beer, low quality, it would screw its suppliers, it would give the least it could to the customers, it would destroy the environment, etc. And it could make the most money for a quarter or two. but obviously that's not sustainable. So what's sustainable? Sustainable is saying we're going to give you the highest quality beer for the best price, still making a profit. It's going to be treating the people, the farmers that make your hops successfully. It's going to be investing in your community so that people grow up wanting to drink your beer, which is going to the little leagues, going to the universities, sponsoring the different race car programs, etc. So if you want to have a sustainable business proposition, you've got to treat all of your stakeholders well. One of those stakeholders is clearly the environment. If you destroy your environment, you're not going to end up having a community to sell the product into in the future.
Okay, so I have sustainable development is the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. So that's what you're talking about, basically.
So the opening speaker at this summit that I was at was fascinating, was the national chief of the Aboriginal people from across the country. And he said, whenever we make a decision, we do two things. We, number one, think about how it affects the circle of life. So not just us, but other people, but not just other people, other animals. And then we also think how it affects 7 generations into the future. And I was saying, my gosh, if we actually learned something from these Aboriginal people about every decision has to be decided how it affects the circle of life and 7 generations. Like that would sort of
That's huge
change your orientation,
yeah.
and that would be consistent with your definition of sustainability. And what do? We think about, maybe how it affects our kids if we're lucky, but we certainly don't think about our grandkids or our great-great-great-grandkids. Maybe we should.
Yeah. So everyone knows that you're married to Mayor Bonnie Crombie, I think, and we want to talk about a little bit about Mississauga, and where do you see Mississauga in the next 5 to 10 years?
That's completely unfair. So I have to give a disclosure statement that anything I may say has zero
This is just
applicability
your
to
opinion.
her. It's my opinion.
Just your opinion.
And I think it's crazy that I have to say that, but too many people think when I say something, it's her opinion
No,
or
it's
whatever.
you. We want to know your opinion.
I think that Mississauga is going to end up having an incredibly bright future. We are right now, we have built some of the infrastructure, but we're building more of the infrastructure that's going to be the statement for the city. 2 weeks ago, you may have heard that 4 different cities have gotten together to take a look at something called the Western Freight Bypass. The Western Freight Bypass would take, if it was built, all of the CP rail traffic off of the line that's just over here, right behind us here, from Milton down to the city center of Toronto, off of that line and put it on a right-of-way that's there built on the 407 to go from Lisgar to Bramalea. The Lake Megantic train that derailed in Lake Megantic went right through Streetsville, right through Cooksville, right through the center of Toronto, because that's where the CP freight comes. So we are one train derailment away from a disaster. But if you actually got that away, number one, it would be safer. Number two, it would actually be cheaper and better for the rail companies. Number three, what you would do is you would have a surface subway right through the center of Mississauga and through the center of Toronto. That we actually get more demand in the rail, in the GO trains that come from Mississauga, the center of Mississauga, than Lakeshore Line. Everyone thinks, the Lakeshore Line is more important. Well, it's not. The Milton Line actually creates more demand. The only reason why we don't have more trains is because it's got to compete with the freight traffic for space. But if you freed up that line, and number one, what you do is you'd have a whole bunch of trains every 15 minutes. Number two, what you could do is you could add stations. So one of the proposals was build a station right here at Britannia, where it crosses, build another station at Barbertown, where it crosses Eglinton, build another station at Mavis, where it crosses Mavis, build another station at Cawthra and Dundas. Wow. 3 or 4 more stations in Mississauga. If it was running every 15 minutes with 12 stations in Mississauga rather than just the existing 7, both ways, all day long, it would be a subway for Mississauga. That would transform
amazing.
Mississauga.
A subway for Mississauga. That's huge.
I think it would be,
so
actually.
Great. Brian, do you have any last advice or any words of wisdom that you want to leave the audience before we go?
Sure. Don't think about networking like speed dating. Think about it like establishing long-term personal relationships. Get to know people, get to know what they like, have a conversation like we're having right now, rather than just, here's a business card and move on and try to collect it up. Once you have those long-term relationships, you're actually going to be more successful in business. It is something that we've forgotten in the last little while, and I think what you're going to do if you do that is build community. And if you want to know better how to do that, you can actually come to one of my speeches that some of the people here have been subjected to, called Community and the Power of Co.
There you go.
And check out briancrombie.com and you can get information on it.
Great. So if you wanna reach Brian or hire him as a speaker, go to his website.
briancrombie.com.
briancrombie.com. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you all very much.
That was great.
Thank you. Hey.